subscribe, like, comment, because once you step inside this story, there's no safe way out. The radio crackled at exactly 2:17 a.m., cutting through the fog rolling off the Northern California coastline. Pelican Bay State Prison sat like a concrete scar against the darkness, its outer lights glowing pale and unforgiving. Inside Facility D, guard froze mid-step as a call echoed down the corridor. Inmate unresponsive. Housing Unit D4. No signs of forced entry. By the time officers reached the cell, the door was already open. That alone made no sense. The man inside was known across California's prison system as untouchable. A legend, a warning. His name had appeared in court transcripts, gang intelligence briefings, and sealed federal reports. They called him one of America's most dangerous inmates, and now he was lying on the concrete floor, eyes half open, hands curled like he had tried to grab onto something invisible. There was no blood, no struggle, no weapon, just silence, and a prison that suddenly felt too small to hold its secrets. Pelican Bay was designed for men who could not exist anywhere else. High security housing unit, 23-hour lockdowns, no physical contact, no second chances. The worst of the worst were buried here, cut off from the world, from families, from each other. These were men who ran criminal empires from behind bars, ordered hits with coded letters, and turned prisons into battlegrounds. They were supposed to be contained, controlled. What happened in D4 suggested otherwise. Lieutenant Marcus Hale arrived before dawn, his boots echoing down the corridor. Hale had spent 20 years in corrections, most of it at facilities people avoided talking about. Pelican Bay never surprised him. Until now. He studied the cell, the body, the untouched food tray. The camera should have shown everything, every second, every movement. But when Control pulled the footage, there was a problem. For 9 minutes, the cameras went dark. Not a glitch, not static, just a clean, empty gap, like someone had erased time itself. The inmate's name was Isaac Crow, 4 to 6 years old, life without parole. Former enforcer for a multi-state prison gang that federal agents quietly described as one of the most organized criminal networks in North America. Crow was believed to control drug pipelines, extortion rings, and internal hits from a concrete box the size of a bathroom. And yet, according to the official log, Crow had not spoken to another human being in 72 hours. That was the first lie. Detective Elena Ruiz stood outside the prison gates as the sun burned through fog. She was not corrections. She was brought in when things crossed the line. Ruiz had worked organized crime in Los Angeles before being transferred north. She knew how power moved when nobody was supposed to have any. When she heard the name Isaac Crow, her jaw tightened. Crow was supposed to be isolated, neutralized, forgotten. Instead, he was dead. Inside the administrative wing, Ruiz met Hale and a small group of internal investigators. The air smelled like disinfectant and old concrete. Every face in the room carried the same question. How does a man die alone in a locked cell with no witnesses, no wounds, and no timeline? The medical examiner's preliminary report only deepened the mystery. No blunt force trauma, no stab wounds, no visible signs of poisoning. Cause of death undetermined pending toxicology. That phrase echoed like a threat. Undetermined meant unanswered, and unanswered questions inside Pelican Bay were dangerous. Ruiz began pulling files. Crow's disciplinary history, his mail logs, his restricted visitor list. Most of it was redacted, classified, buried under layers of bureaucracy. But patterns still emerged. 3 months earlier, Crow had been moved cells without explanation. 2 weeks later, a correctional officer filed an internal complaint, then abruptly withdrew it. A month after that, a confidential informant stopped cooperating altogether. Something had shifted inside the prison. Quietly, carefully, then came the second incident. Before Ruiz could leave the facility, another alert sounded. This time, it was not a death. It was a disappearance. Inmate Jonah Pike, housed 2 tiers down from Crow, had failed to respond during count. His cell was empty. His bed was made. His property untouched. Pike was not just another inmate. He had testified in a sealed federal case years earlier, then vanished into protective custody before resurfacing at Pelican Bay under a new number. Officially, He was serving time for armed robbery. Unofficially, he knew things people would kill to keep buried. The prison went into lockdown. Every gate slammed shut. Helicopters circled overhead. Search teams tore through maintenance tunnels, storage rooms, and old sections of the facility that was supposed to be sealed permanently. They found nothing. No breach. No escape route. No trace. 2 high-risk inmates. 1 dead. 1 gone. In the most secure prison in California, Ruiz demanded access to the camera logs again. This time, she noticed something no one else had. The 9-minute blackout did not just affect Crow's tear. It rippled outward, hitting 3 separate camera clusters in a pattern that made no technical sense. Unless someone inside the system knew exactly where to touch it. Someone with access. Someone trusted. As night fell again over Pelican Bay, Ruiz stood alone in the corridor where Crow had died. The lights hummed softly. The walls felt close now. This was no random incident. This was coordination, precision, a message being sent through silence. Then a guard approached her, pale and shaking. He handed Ruiz a folded piece of paper he claimed he found tucked behind control panel during the lockdown sweep. There was no name, no signature, just 4 handwritten words. He wasn't the first. Ruiz stared at the note, the weight of it sinking in. Because if that was true, then Isaac Crow's death was not an ending. It was a beginning. And whatever was happening inside Pelican Bay was far bigger, far darker, and far more dangerous than anyone were prepared to admit. By sunrise, Pelican Bay no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a crime scene that refused to reveal its boundaries. The lockdown had entered its 2nd day. Inmates were silent behind steel doors. Guards moved in pace, eyes tracking every shadow, every flicker of fluorescent light. Word had spread fast, even without confirmation. 1 dangerous man was dead. Another had vanished. And now, everyone understood the unspoken rule of Pelican Bay had been broken. If men could disappear here, nowhere was truly secure. Detective Elena Ruiz had not slept. She stood in the surveillance control room, watching footage loop endlessly on a bank of monitors. Guards appeared. Doors opened. Time passed. Then nothing. That same 9-minute gap. Over and over. Someone had not just shut off cameras. They had choreographed the darkness. Forensic technicians confirmed what Ruiz already feared. The blackout was manual. It could not be triggered remotely. Whoever did it had to be inside the prison, physically present, with clearance levels few possess. That list was short, and every name on it came with a badge. Lieutenant Marcus Hale knew it too. He had spent the night reviewing staff logs, access cards, maintenance schedules. One name kept resurfacing, always near the edges of anomalies but never directly tied to them. Officer Daniel Reese, 15-year veteran, clean record, trusted, invisible in the way only long-term insiders could be. Reese had been assigned to Facility D the night Isaac Crow died. When Ruiz asked to speak with him, Hale hesitated. In Pelican Bay, accusing a guard without proof was like lighting a fuse. But this case had already crossed too many lines. Hale nodded. They found Reese in the staff break room, staring into a paper cup of coffee like it held answers. He looked exhausted, hollowed out. Ruiz introduced herself and asked where he had been during the blackout. On my route, Reese said. His voice was steady. Too steady. Same as always. Ruiz pressed him on specifics. Times, doors, movements. His answers were precise, rehearsed. He had been ready for this conversation. That alone raised alarms. Then Ruiz slid the handwritten note across the table. He wasn't the first. Reese's eyes flickered for a fraction of a second before he masked it. Ruiz saw it. Fear, or recognition. Before she could push further, alarms blared again. This time, it was medical. An inmate in Facility C had collapsed during lockdown meal delivery. By the time staff reached him, he was barely breathing. His name was Luis Moreno, former cartel courier turned prison middleman. Not as infamous as Crow, but dangerous in his own right. Another man who knew how information moved inside concrete walls. Moreno survived. Barely. The medical report arrived fast. Trace compounds in his bloodstream. Not lethal. Not accidental. A warning dose. Ruiz felt the shape of the pattern forming, sharp and deliberate. Someone was targeting specific inmates. Not randomly, Not violently, surgically. These men were connected by something deeper than gangs or geography. They shared knowledge, secrets, leverage. She requested sealed federal files tied to Crow, Pike, and Moreno. It took hours of calls and quiet pressure, but by afternoon, the documents arrived. What Ruiz read made her stomach tighten. Years earlier, all three men had been part of a classified operation, an off-the-books federal strategy designed to fracture prison gangs by turning key figures against one another. Deals had been made, sentences adjusted, identities altered, promises broken. The operation was shut down after allegations of corruption and missing funds. Officially, it never existed. Unofficially, people had been left exposed. Crow had tried to renegotiate his deal from inside Pelican Bay. Pike had threatened to talk if protections failed. Moreno had been suspected of holding financial records tied to the operation. If those records surfaced, they would not just implicate inmates. They would implicate law enforcement, federal agencies, careers. Someone wanted those loose ends gone. As night fell, Ruiz received another shock. Jonah Pike's fingerprints were found, not outside the prison. Inside it, a maintenance tunnel beneath Facility D, sealed off decades earlier after structural failures. The tunnel did not lead out. It led deeper in. Search team flooded the area, their flashlights cutting through dust and darkness. What they found chilled everyone involved. A makeshift holding space. Shackles bolted into the wall. Food wrappers. A blanket. Signs someone had been kept alive down there. Pike had not escaped. He had been taken. The implications were terrifying. Someone inside Pelican Bay was running a black site operation within the prison itself, detaining inmates without records, silencing them off the books. Ruiz demanded a full staff lockdown and independent oversight. The warden pushed back hard. Bringing in outside agencies would expose institutional failures no one wanted public. Tension crackled through every meeting. Then Officer Reese vanished. He failed to report for shift. His access card was found deactivated. His locker was empty. His apartment, searched under emergency warrant, showed signs of a rushed departure. Clothes missing. Computer wiped. No forwarding address. Now the investigation had a face. But the timeline did not add up. Reese could not have acted alone. Not at this scale. Not with this precision. Late that night, Ruiz reviewed Crow's personal effects again. Hidden inside the spine of a paperback novel, she found something no one had noticed. A tiny strip of paper, folded until it was nearly dust. Coordinates, not GPS internal grid markers. Prison architecture codes. Ruiz cross-referenced them with old blueprints. Her blood ran cold. The coordinates pointed to a section beneath the infirmary, a space officially listed as decommissioned storage, unmonitored, unmapped on modern security systems. If Pike was alive, that was where he would be. Ruiz stood outside the infirmary doors, flanked by Hale and a small tactical team. Every instinct told her they were walking into a trap. Whatever was happening inside Pelican Bay was reaching its endgame. As they prepared to breach the lower access hatch, Hale's radio crackled with a final, devastating update. The toxicology report on Isaac Crow was complete. Cause of death, deliberate chemical asphyxiation, using a compound not stocked, tracked, or approved anywhere within the prison system. Someone had brought it in, and they were still inside. Ruiz tightened her grip on her weapon as the hatch creaked open, darkness yawning beneath them. Whatever truth waited below was not just about inmates. It was about power, and it was about to surface. The ladder groaned as the hatch opened, each rung disappearing into a throat of darkness beneath the infirmary. The air that rose from below smelled stale, metallic, wrong. Detective Elena Ruiz descended first, her flashlight cutting a narrow tunnel through the black. Lieutenant Marcus Hale followed, then two tactical officers. Above them, the prison hummed, unaware of what was buried underneath it. The space below was not storage. It was a room. Concrete walls reinforced with steel braces. Industrial lights wired to an independent power source. A table bolted to the floor. A rolling medical cart stock with syringes, vials, gloves. Too organized. Too intentional. This was not improvised. In the corner, chained to a wall ring, sat Jonah Pike. He was alive, but barely. His cheeks were hollow, lips cracked, eyes glassy with dehydration. When Ruiz knelt in front of him, he tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. She ordered water, then waited, watching his hands tremble as he drank. "They said it was protection," Pike whispered once his voice returned. "They said I was safer here." Ruiz asked who they were. Pike laughed weakly. "The same people who put me here in the first place." Before he could say more, a gunshot echoed from above. Then another. The radio exploded with overlapping shouts. "Security breach. Officer down. Facility D." Hale cursed under his breath. "They know we found him." The tactical officers moved Pike onto a stretcher, rushing him toward the ladder. Ruiz lingered just long enough to notice something etched into the concrete wall near the table. Names, initials, dates, too many to count. Some crossed out, some circled. Isaac Crow's name was there. So were others. Inmates officially listed as transferred, released, or deceased over the past decade. Pelican Bay had not just been holding America's most dangerous inmates. It had been erasing them. Above ground, chaos spread fast. Sirens wailed. Doors slammed. Guards shouted orders that dissolved into panic. Ruiz emerged into a corridor thick with smoke and confusion. Somewhere inside the maze of concrete and steel, someone was trying to clean up a mess that had grown too big to hide. Officer Daniel Reese was found near Facility D, dead, single gunshot wound to the chest. His weapon lay inches from his hand. The official story formed almost instantly. Suicide, a compromised officer who panicked when exposed. Ruiz knew better. Reese had been a runner, not the architect. Someone had used him to move supplies, shut off cameras, access forgotten spaces. When the truth surfaced, he became expendable. They rushed Pike to the infirmary under heavy guard. Ruiz stayed with him, refusing to leave. She needed answers before someone else decided he was a liability. Between shallow breaths, Pike told her everything. The classified operation, the fake promises. The inmates elected not to be rehabilitated, but to be leveraged. Men whose knowledge could destabilize criminal networks, but also expose corruption inside law enforcement itself. When the operation collapsed, the inmates became problems. Too dangerous to release. Too risky to let testify. Pelican Bay became the solution. "Some of us were never meant to leave," Pike said. "Not alive." He named names. Federal handlers, contractors, a medical consultant who rotated through multiple prisons without oversight. A quiet partnership between people sworn to uphold the law and people terrified of what the truth would cost them. As Pike spoke, Ruiz realized the scope of it. This was not about gangs or prison violence. It was about control, about burying mistakes beneath layers of concrete and classification. Then Pike grabbed her wrist. "They are still doing it," he said, "even now." At that exact moment, the power went out. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing the infirmary in red. Ruiz drew her weapon, heart hammering. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Calm, unhurried, a man stepped into the light wearing a white lab coat. Dr. Alan Mercer. Officially, Mercer was a civilian consultant specializing in inmate mental health evaluations. Unofficially, his name appeared in every file Ruiz had reviewed. Always adjacent, never central. He smiled as if walking into a routine checkup. "You've caused a lot of trouble," Mercer said quietly. "You should have stopped at the dead man." Ruiz ordered him to step back. He didn't. He explained it without shame. The program had saved lives, he claimed, prevented riots, stopped murders before they happened. Men like Crow and Pike were not victims. They were liabilities. When the system fails, Mercer said, someone has to clean it up. A guard appeared behind him. Then another, not tactical, regular staff. Faces Ruiz recognized. People who had walked these halls for years. The truth settled in like ice. Mercer did not need to kill Ruiz. He only needed to discredit her. But Pike ruined that plan. With a sudden burst of strength, Pike lunged forward, ripping the foreline from his arm and grabbing Mercer's sleeve. The distraction was enough. Ruiz fired. The bullet shattered Mercer's shoulder. He screamed, chaos erupting as guards scattered. Backup flooded in seconds later. Mercer was restrained, bleeding and furious. Pike collapsed, his body finally giving out. He died before sunrise. This time, with witnesses, the fallout was immediate and devastating. Federal investigations, closed-door hearings, careers ended overnight. Official statements blamed rogue individuals, structural failures, miscommunication. Pelican Bay issued reforms, oversight, transparency. On paper, everything changed. Ruiz stood outside the prison weeks later, watching the fog roll in again. The case was closed. Officially, Mercer awaited trial. Names were sealed, files classified. Before she left, Hale handed her an envelope, no return address. Inside was a single photocopy page, a transfer log, dated 3 days after Pike's death. One inmate relocated under emergency authority, name redacted, destination unknown. At the bottom, handwritten in ink that felt too familiar, were 4 words. He wasn't the last. Ruiz folded the paper slowly, the weight of it heavier than any evidence she had carried before. Pelican Bay faded behind her as she walked away, knowing the truth was only partially exposed. Some secrets did not die in prison. They were just moved. And if this story pulled you into the darkness, stay close, because the next one goes even deeper.